All right, so now it's time for Grace's news.
All right, big update for everyone. Caitlyn Jenner announces run for California governor in likely recall election. Caitlyn Jenner, the former Olympian and reality TV star, announced Friday she plans to run to replace California Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom.
I thought Bruce Jenner was the former Olympian.
And
both Bruce and Caitlyn were former reality stars.
That's actually... I wonder.
You're going to get into the same kind of trouble that lawyer.
What did I just do?
That Martha's Vineyard lawyer got into when he put normal around the quotation marks around the gay porn producer. Come on, Taylor. You want to get canceled here?
Sorry, I dead named.
I mean, honestly, Caitlyn Jenner, I would take over Gavin Newsom.
I would too. I thought about making that the poll. I thought about making that the poll question. Actually,
Caitlyn Jenner, at least she's had a career of accomplishments.
Right.
She can get things done. Gavin Newsom, not so much.
How is Gavin Newsom related to Nancy Pelosi?
I think that he's married to her daughter. Is that what it is?
Something like that. Did you see the story about I never knew this story. I knew that her father was the mayor of Baltimore, and he was allegedly tied up with the mafia, according to FBI documents that the Twitter refused to let me post once a few months ago. But there's a new biography of her coming out. It was actually written.
I saw that.
Did you see about her brother, her older brother?
No.
He was what, there were 14 young boys in Baltimore and teenagers, and they got these two young runaway girls, 13 and 11, and they put them up in a like a rooming house, and they abused them sexually for 10 days. And 13 of the 14 boys were convicted. Would you care to guess which one wasn't convicted?
Is his last name whatever Pelosi's last name was?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt Alessandro. He was the only one who wasn't convicted, but he gave such compelling testimony that after the trial was over and he was acquitted, he was indicted for perjury.
Who was his lawyer? Hillary Clinton?
But Nancy Pelosi didn't believe these terrible allegations against him that he'd abused the 13 and the 11-year-old girls.
Well, some of the stories from that book look pretty good, Howie. I guess she mocks AOC in a child's voice.
Yeah.
And she really tears into her. There's some scoopage in that.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised because that woman was terrible in the debate. She was in the vice presidential debate, I think, between Kamala Harris and Mike Pence. She was terrible.
And I guess Nancy Pelosi, when she first ran, she tricked people into voting for her because she made it seem like she was more moderate than she is. Which I guess you could say about any Democrat, but still, it was a long time ago. Howie, now, we had talked earlier this week about the case with the woman who rented her house out and they did porn.
Yes. Yeah, I wrote a column about it today. That's what I was referring to the lawyer. Her lawyer is her uncle, and he put quotation marks around the word normal. And I said, watch it, man, watch it.
Watch it. You're close.
You're on the line.
Yeah. Well, I have another story that I keep seeing everywhere. I was going to save it for police blotter facts, but then I figured, you know what? It's Friday. We can use a lighter story today. Inside the vacant Florida mansion, a couple crashed for their wedding. Did you hear about this?
No.
This is a great story. The Florida mansion, where a couple thought it would be just dandy to show up and hold their wedding without the owner's knowledge, is pending an offer. Nathan Finkel, the owner of the estate, can now breathe a sigh of relief, knowing he doesn't have to deal with prospective trespassers any longer. Courtney Wilson, the groom, and Shanita Jones, the bride, had allegedly sent out wedding invitations to their entire family, welcoming them to their dream home and estate for a 2-day celebration this past Saturday. When the crew showed up for the big day, Finkel was befuddled and immediately dialed 911. This is my favorite part, the quote from Finkel.
The owner.
Yes, I have people trespassing on my property, and they keep harassing me and calling me. They say they're having a wedding here, and it's God's message. I don't know what's going on. All I want is for it to stop.
Welcome to Dementia Joe Biden's America, Mr. Finkel.
The guy figured it was a vacant house and didn't realize Nathan lived on the property in a different home. This guy had no idea he lived there. You know the shock that must have been on his face when he showed up at the gate and the owner was home? Well, that's why you don't plan a wedding at a random property. It's like a squatter's wedding. And they sent out invitations and they were going to have a brunch the next day. So they weren't even going to try to just get away with it and leave. They were going to come back.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? Remember when Omarosa brought those 2 busloads of people into the White House without telling any of the security that she was just bringing them in for a nice tour on a Saturday afternoon?
No, Howie, I think it was a shower of some sort. It was like a baby shower or a wedding shower. I do remember that. And the White House was like, no. Speaking of that, I don't have the story in front of me. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. Did you see the story about Prince Andrew?
Oh, this woman is stalking Prince Andrew.
Talk about needing to
Why?
find someone better to stalk.
Yeah.
There's a lot of handsome guys out there who
Isn't
I'm not
he
saying
the one that usually does the stalking?
well,
Yes.
he's a creep. He's Randy Andy, and I'm not saying anyone should be stalking anyone, but like, I mean, out of all the people in the world, you choose Prince Andrew.
You know what turns her on, right? His admiral's uniform that he wanted to wear to the funeral last week.
Stop. That is not true. So she shows up, and according to reports, she was so smartly dressed and she was an attractive woman that she fooled all of the security, and they just kind of waved her on through. And then they only found out that she wasn't supposed to be there when she asked one of the guards, where is Prince Andrew? We're supposed to get married today. And the guard was kind of like, I haven't heard about that.
See, Grace is making sport of Randy Andy, but I remember once you had a chance to meet his lovely bride, and you were very polite.
So were you, sir. Howie talks this big game like he's going to meet people and be like, say something mean. He's so nice. Hi, Fergie. Oh, I have the pictures to prove it. You guys shaking hands. She was actually really sweet. I feel bad for her. And speaking of not nice, Kamala Harris was greeted by protesters during her New Hampshire trip.
Good for the Granite State.
Exactly. They had signs that said, "Hey, Kamala, stop the illegal invasion. Go visit Mexico." Another sign said, "Impeach Biden Harris."
Excellent.
I know, right?
Excellent. I saw a nice piece about Bill Gardner, the Secretary of State in New Hampshire, a Democrat, who's very much opposed to H.R. 1, this bill that would basically do away with any kind of voter integrity in the United States.
Oh, good. Grace's News is brought to you by Toyota of Portsmouth, the house of value. I absolutely love my new RAV4 XLE that I got at Toyota of Portsmouth. Jim Boyle's birthday was yesterday, by the way. Happy birthday to Jim. Toyota of Portsmouth has a huge, sparkling, clean showroom and an incredible staff. It's really the best place to go, especially because it's not in Massachusetts, so you don't have to run into Charlie Bacon. They're located just south of the Portsmouth traffic circle off 95. Go to toyotaofportsmouth.com or visit them at the showroom and tell them Grace sent you. Hey, Howie, just an update here. Biden is committed to finding Neera Tanden a job after her failed nomination. Now, for people who don't remember this, Neera Tanden couldn't get confirmed and she was supposed to lead the White House Office of Management and Budget.
Yes.
But she had so many mean tweets about everyone.
Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah. And Howie, you remember what Senator Kennedy said?
No.
About her comments about Bernie Sanders?
What'd he say?
Hold on, let me ask Taylor if I can say this word on the air first. He said, you basically called Bernie Sanders everything but an ignorant slut. And it's true. They went through her old tweets and she just said she was tweeting mean things about everybody. And then she couldn't get confirmed. But Biden is committed to finding her some sort of hack job in his administration.
They're having a problem, too, with the guy that they want to be the chief of the criminal division in the Justice Department. That's the guy who would be handling the brooming of the Hunter Biden case, if I can predict. And apparently, though, Grace, he broomed a case for a pervy parish attorney, a prosecutor down in New Orleans when he was the U.S. attorney down there, much like... I don't know. Alex Acosta, remember him, the labor secretary who
you mean the worst man in the world?
No, not Jim Acosta, Alex Acosta, no relation, as he told me when I interviewed him. He was the one who was forced out because he had cut a plea deal with Jeffrey Epstein,
No, I know. I'm saying they made him out to be the worst.
Yeah,
man in
he
the
was.
world, when really,
They
he
never
was the
cared.
only-
They never cared for 10 years that he'd cut this deal with Epstein. But when they figured, well, if we take this guy out, it'll embarrass Trump. So then he became the worst man in the world. So this happened much more recently than that, and it's the exact same case. But now the Democrats are saying, what's the big deal? Yeah, he cut a deal with this slimy guy who was he was basically brooming cases in return for sexual favors. His name was Morell, and but it's okay now. It's Joe's guy. It's Uncle Joe's guy. He's okay.
Howie, it's like knife fights. Who hasn't? You're really going to tell me you've never gotten in a knife fight before? By the way, one last story here that I'm going to keep my eye on over the next couple weeks because I think more details are going to come out. But this girl, Kirsten Henning, she's a former Virginia Tech women's soccer player, and she's suing her former coach after she was allegedly benched and forced off the team because she didn't want to kneel during a pregame demonstration. And I think this is a really funny issue only because this started off as people have every right to kneel. And that was the argument, was if I want to kneel, I can. And now it's gone it's gone full circle where it's you can't not kneel without being punished.
Right.
So the question of kneeling, you're not going to face any repercussions for kneeling. Now the question is, will you face repercussions if you decide to stand for the anthem?
It's a revolution, baby. That's the way it goes with the revolutions.
Robespierre.
That's right. That's right. Anything that isn't banned is mandatory. That's the policy of the Democrat Party. Thank you, Grace. We'll see you back for Police Blotter Facts Friday. Thanks,
Howard.
The Biden administration's policies and executive orders are already causing some economic disturbance, to put it mildly. Tax laws are going to change. Your tax burden on selling real estate will grow. Don't get caught flat-footed and squander the equity in your real estate built up over years or decades. Sell today with J.J. Manning. For over 40 years, J.J. Manning has been the leading auction house in New England. From high-end homes to estates to commercial properties throughout New England, J.J. Manning can get your property sold fast and contingency-free. There is a big reason why Mass Lawyers Weekly voted J.J. Manning #1 for 4 consecutive years. It's because they have a huge following of bidders who pay cash. When you sell with a broker, you pay the commission, but in an auction, the buyer pays. Right now, there are a lot more buyers than there are sellers. You may not even need a broker. You may need an auction, and it'll save you a ton of money. These are treacherous times in the real estate market. Some sectors are at all-time highs. Others are losing ground, like commercial, retail. Don't wait until Joe Biden destroys this sector of the economy too before you cash out. To learn more on how to get your property sold fast, contact Charlie Gill at jjmanning.com. With over 16,000 sales and satisfied clients, you could be the next one. Call them today at 1-800-521-0111 or go to jjmanning.com and get your property sold. I'm Howie Carr.